Welcome back to the 2016 Spring Promotion Tournament, where Gambit is eyeing a clean sweep against MOU Sports to stay in the LCS. We can see MOU Sports there on your screen. Glad you're still with us. Let's recap that previous... Are we going to just stay like this? Let's recap the previous game. Gambit is on match point already. Very quick games from them so far. Stress, maybe look at the picks and bans of game one, and especially we said maybe the team comps were too complicated coming out of Mouse before that in game one. What do you think they've done here?
So they went for a, we can hit level 6 and press alt kind of composition, which I guess is fairly easy to execute when it looks at exactly what your goal is. Dive a tower, get some kills, which is fairly straightforward, a little bit more simple than their last one perhaps. Still very difficult though. There's a couple of weird, tricky little matchups in here that maybe aren't the most beneficial. Like Ahri into Azir is fine, but I don't think
ideal.
I've not seen anything from Jinx to make me think that he can outplay in that matchup yet.
A big problem that I have with Mouse's team composition is they're so reliant on being ahead.
Yeah.
The moment they go even or even fall behind, I just like everything that Gambit is putting together in terms of their scaling, in terms of their options that they have to play with. The only reliable safe wave clear you've got from Mouse is on Ahri, so the moment you go even and have to defend a tower, it becomes difficult. I like the aggressive options that Mouse's team composition puts together. The problem is if you don't get ahead very early in a game, you have very little that you can do to bring yourself back into the match.
It's very clear Mouse is saying we have to try something risky, otherwise we're not going to beat Gambit anyway. So they run these kind of comps where as soon as they fall behind, it just collapses completely. Gambit rolls over them. And, I mean, can you really fault Mouse for trying some of these comps here? Not really. But then you can't make the mistakes they're making in-game. That's where it really goes wrong. Binsu got destroyed in the early game because his team is not helping him. And the way Gambit is playing around his top lane over and over is just so effective. Like here, Binsu is sitting on the top side after the lane swap, and his team is doing Dragon, so they're not applying pressure on the bottom side. Gambit sends up 4 members to top to take tower and just bounce the wave back, so Binsu gets absolutely nothing. And then he's still forced to go join into these team fights that we see first engage in mid from Mouse, and it's too simple almost, and it's too predictable. Get Barry on the Azir, you can stop that from happening, and Binsu, yeah, he gets a good ulti off, but that's about it, and no longer offers anything. And at this point, Cabochard is like 50 CS ahead already.
Yeah, Cabochard really went off this game. I think he had a 10-0-4, 10-0-7, whatever it was at the end of the game. Again, the big carry that is absolutely shutting down the entirety of Mouse. And, you know, Stress, you talked about the tower dives that Mouse could put together. We've got a replay, actually, of one of those dives, if we can pull that straight up onto your screen. What I do like about Mouse is they have shown a mechanical proficiency when they do initiate a play to pull it off. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but the problem is, it's too little and too late. By the time this dive had even come in, Binsu was down 60 CS. Cabochard had already secured the tower, was already in a dominant position. These plays need to happen 3, 4, 5 minutes earlier if Mouse want to stand a chance to bring a victory on the board and sweep, reverse sweep.
I mean, coming into this series, we were talking about how Mouse, the sum of their parts is greater than individually. Obviously, the problem is Gambit's individuals are still worth more at this point than even though Mouse will get a team fight like this, or 2 maybe, but they can just never hope for much more than these fights with the comps they're running. Gambit are just getting too far ahead.
And you need to get to the team fights without being too far behind. And that really is the issue here. You make too many mistakes leading up to you start a grouping, and yeah, we can talk about the macro strategy and the teamwork from Mouse. It's not enough if you can't get to that point without falling super far behind, because Cabochard can do whatever he wants. They keep just going up top lane, and Mouse keep picking weaker junglers when it comes to the 2v2 fight up in the top lane. Again, Rexa is going to beat Divine in the early game, at least until Vi hits level 6. Too easy for them to just camp the lane, and there's nothing Binsu can do.
Yeah, and for now, at least Mouse, nothing they can do. They have some games, or they have to win the next game at least if they want to prove it. There are also some games going over in Santiago de Chile. The international wildcard finals are underway. Pain Gaming is actually up 1-0 against Chaos Latin Gamers over there.
It's awesome. Kami, first of all, is a god. He carried Pain last weekend during the group stages, and he went off on Twisted Fate earlier. Diud, former LCS player, actually is performing relatively well on Thresh, and it's nice to see BRTT not suck. Last weekend, he had tough games.
Ouch.
No, he had really tough games. I watched the group stages, and for a dude with as much hype as BRTT, he underperformed for everybody watching. Not the case today. 1-0 up against KLG. We'll see. Maybe Pain makes Worlds.
Yeah.
Maybe Pain's at Worlds.
Because this is, of course, the qualifier. It's also called the Desafio Internacional, or that was roughly translated to the Fisho International. You know, our... you know, master and whatever. Anyway.
Oh, I'm your master? Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
The stage is set for a game right here. It's time to check back in with Pulse and Krepo on the caster desk.
Well, praise be to Master Deficio. Thank you very much, Shucks. We're ready for Champion Select here.
Some weird things going over there. I'm glad I left it and got to the comfortable position that is casting
You're safe
Pulse. Safety here, just the occasional Taylor Swift lyrics, apparently, I've been told. Shame on you, Pulse.
I got a lot of shame from that one. But,
yeah, we're about ready to go into the game, hopefully soon. Champs, like, what do you want to see changed? Beansu, please play carry top laner. That is the name of the game. Hecarim, Aurelia, Fiora, take your pick. Gangplank, any of the above will do.
Yep.
And Dan, please help your top laner. It's like a plea, you know.
He needs you.
He needs you to help farm, because otherwise we'll see a quick repeat of the first 2 games. Finally going to Champ Select.
Yep. Here we go, Krepo. This could be it. This could be 3-0 or the start of the reverse sweep. We're about to find out in this Champion Select.
Or one game to give fans false hope. Any of it can be. Starting off pretty textbook. Mousesports saying, okay, what do you leave open last game? Fizz? What are we never going to leave open again? Fizz. GMB Gaming replied with Lulu. Pretty standard way of picking bans so far.
Make sure Cabashot doesn't get on a priority champion. Ban away the Fizz, ban away the Gangplank, have banned away the Flex picks once again by Gambit. No change from them at all throughout this series. Haven't needed to change anything. Elise will be the final ban. That leaves up both mid laners this time.
Yeah, I would have liked to see just the first pick and pressure on Betsy's champion pool. If you didn't hear when we talked about it earlier at the end of the last game, the way these games have been playing out is Betsy has been consistently pushing in mid lane, then allowing Diamondprox to move into the enemy jungle, and that in turn allows Diamondprox to babysit Cabashard until it's so far ahead that nobody can stop it from pushing or freezing lanes, and that puts so much pressure on Mousesports, and that all starts in a sense with Betsy pushing in and then Gambit playing around their top laner so well in these lane swaps. So ironically, standard lanes might actually be better. Mousesports say, okay, we really don't want to get the Azir, so we'll likely see an Azir-Victor matchup here in the mid lane. That is still in favor of the Azir pushing in, so finally Mousesports should have the push in the mid lane.
Janna was the final ban as well, so Gambit Gaming have left with both mid laners. The first one will be going over to Mouse, that will be the Azir. What was not banned out by Mouse, which they did in the previous series, was Olaf. So that is a possibility for Gambit Gaming in the jungle or top lane even, or even support. But they are hovering over it. No indicator if they're going to lock it in though. They have a lot to choose from. They can pick 2 power picks here.
Yeah, Braum has been completely neglected in the series, so it's not worth mentioning anymore. We've seen high priority in Kalista, we've seen high priority in Thresh, so it could be a Kalista Thresh coming out of Gambit Gaming. Maybe they want to try and play around Pinoy most of this time. They want to lock in the early Olaf. Peculiar perhaps, Mouseport play too. Finally, we see some Braum. Braum Azir or as a 2 champion pick combo for mid lane support. I love so much. There's so much zone control coming out, so many options aggressive defensively. Gambit looking to just run in and stampede over this Mousesports lineup, especially with that Olaf. Let's see if they can supplement that with some good picks for these strong team fights, or if Olaf will just 1v1 split push in the end.
Yeah, well, you got your wish. That's the Braum and the Tristana as well. Fantastic lane in the bot lane from Mousesports. We'll see if we can use it though with Sedna Mountain.
Yeah, Tristana does incredibly well into Kalista, probably the best pick you can pick into any Kalista lane, especially if you have the Braum defending to block some of the autos to prevent the maximum rend damage going down, and removing some of that counter damage. Really big damage, especially if you get 4 hits with the E ulti you hit. That's pretty much enough to one-shot Kalista, so you might actually see Gambit swap away from that for once.
Again, the disco ball is being hovered over. We're not going to see it today. Thinking about what to pick up in the mid lane, also potentially leaving out the top lane for the counter pick as well. Gambit Gaming back on that red side. It will be the Victor to match up the Azir. The mirror is complete in the mid lane, and Fresh as well will be going for the support. So last pick will be that top laner, or they can even flex that Olaf.
Yeah, very expected draft here from Gambit Gaming, aside from maybe that Olaf pick, but there's a reason Mousesports was banning it over and over. Obviously, Gambit valued it very highly. The rest of the picks kind of predictable. If you go Kalista first, very likely that Ghost of Pepper will pick up Thresh second. Victor and Azir mirror, one picks one, the other one picks the other. Now looking to see what Mousesports will complete their lineup with. Is Beansu finally going to play some carry-oriented top laner? Looks like hovering Maokai again. Really hope he just goes for some damage. However, this time is the only time I actually would allow him to play tank, because you have a very good double damage composition already. 180 heavy damage, 1 AP heavy damage, good zone control. You can really pick a tank here and allow your team to just control the front line. Shred through the front line first and then get to Cabochard later if he's split pushing, or just immediately blow him up with enough.
Oh, as well as the Maokai is the Dan special. It's Rammus. He used to pick this so long ago. I remember seeing this in the face of tournament in 2014 when he was playing with Unicorns. It was that long ago. But Dan, picking up this Rammus, can he make it work? The curveball, you can see Eddie's face, doesn't know what to make of it.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know, man. If Victor goes cleanse and Olaf is Olaf, you can only really taunt the Kalista. Even if you taunt Thresh, he will be Fate's Call. I know it's a pocket pick, but even read on Reddit of I think his name was Harry Abs, top laner, 1000 LP right now, that really wants to get into the American LCS and he used to be known for Rammus. And he has one ranked game this season so far on Rammus. So even the most passionate Rammus players are saying he is quote-unquote garbage right now. So Dan, you will have to amaze me, just blow me away, change my opinion of this pick, because overall, not a fan. So much he could have done here, so many picks were open. Just pick Gragas. Then you have a beautiful composition, beautiful meta composition. You have double tank disengagement. No, you go for just an okay pick on the Rammus. And then on the other side, Gambit Gaming round out the composition with the Rek'Sai. They take that as their jungler. Pretty straightforward what they want to do as well. Just let the Olaf run amok and then just have a lot of damage threats. Really, really keep your eye on mid lane, see how that push battle turns out here.
Yeah, and Olaf was banned out against Cabochard. Maokai was banned out against Binsu in game 1. So these two banned top laners, what can they do with it? We've seen Binsu pick up the Maokai a bunch of times before, and Challenger has done very well with the champion. So we only have a little time left before we get into this one, Crabbo.
With Emperor's Divide, Jin should be able to fend for himself in teamfights, especially if Braum is helping him should he ever get caught. This should free up Binsu, especially early home guards teleports. Just go around and flank and take away either the Kalista or keep Betsy busy while Olaf is charging at your team. That could be a viable strategy for Mouseboard. They have the tools to really deal with the engage from Gambit Gaming and the necessary kite and peel to keep their double threat composition alive. And then in the middle of that, they can have Rammus just roll around. And Dan just switched to teleport at the very end. You guys can see that he's playing teleport smite. Rammus just confirming that it actually went through. Yep, teleport smite. So
home guard, boys.
Sprinkling some cheese.
Yeah.
This potential final game. Best of 5 here for an LCS spot on the line.
For the potential last time today, update your vote on Twitter. Combine those two words. Do that on Twitter as well. Tweet at LOL Esports using the hashtags MOU win or GMB win. We'll be checking out throughout the game on what you think at home. But can Dan bring glory to the Armadillo? We're about to find out as we head into game 3 of this best of 5 between Gambit and Mouse Sports.
All glory to the Armadillo. Dan the man, can he do it? Can he be the hero that his team needs?
Welcome to
Potentially deserves. What is he gonna do? Let's follow Dan in his early quest for farm.
How much armor does he have? There was an old cheese build where you just go literally flat armor because it converts into AD from your passive as well. He's got a bunch of it, almost 70 armor at level 1. And Gambit will take away his ward, and Dan will waddle away into the top side of his jungle.
So complete mirror start where you have the typical 3 deep wards being placed to at least be able to react to lane swaps. Looks like Gambit really want to find favorable lanes for them. Alright. Should net them enough information to judge the early game. However, on the other side, Mouse Sports will do the same. We'll have to see who is baiting whom here and how this all plays out.
Yeah, lane swap wards have gone down. Haven't covered the base gate, but actually still with that ward they have done, so that's fine from Mouse. Sejun sat in this top lane, looking for that information from the level 1 in Gambit.
The mind games. Look at Mountain passing over that ward on purpose.
Recall?
And then recall. But it is kind of obvious because Gambit just walked everywhere in that jungle. They've seen everything and then they see the support going over. This is the mind game that's been done before, therefore it's actually predictable that Mousesport's bot lane will end up in the top lane, and it does look that Gam is actually migrating there to match this lane to keep Cabochard in even lane. Now it definitely be sure because he finds Sedion on the red buff. There are more members here in that red buff too. Very peculiar early start. Vets is actually peeling off. Then he decides to go back to mid. So confusion around, but Gambit's bot lane will be first to lane, get an experience advantage. Look at where Mountain is on the map right now. He's trying to get back to top. We see the double jungle start on the bottom side of your map for Gambit, but instead of having to send Cabochard to teleport top, he can simply run down to the bot lane. Clear out the remaining of that blue buff I can see on your minimap. Just Gonna check whether he actually got the blue buff himself. Yes, he did. Cabochard picked up blue buff because Rek'Sai doesn't really need it for her clear. He gets both camps, doesn't opt to go straight to the lane instead. He's got some extra potions here. He's going into lane with blue buff. And again, Gambit Gaming is putting Cabochard ahead of the team. Farm priority #1. It's even going into the jungle right now. He even gets a blue buff right there. And in top lane, Gambit's bot lane should be fine, because they got the first 2 lane and they have the 2v2 advantage now.
Yeah, and Cabochard is in that 1v1. He's got that blue buff. There's actually a build I've been seeing that Huni's been running in solo queue where he basically goes back, picks up a ton of mana potions with the blue buff as well. Cabochard going to be spamming his undertows constantly on Beansu. And what's he going to do?
Well, use his passive, hopefully dodge enough axes and get that passive from Maokai to sustain. But again, the pressure will be on Cabochard. Dan clearing out his jungle, approaching level 3, and we'll have to see if he can roll in anywhere. Unluckily for him, his mid lane finally is the one pushing, and as Ramens, it is nigh impossible to find a gank. Only counter ganks are available for him, so he'll have to read Diamond procs.
Yeah, and remember they have the cleanse in the middle lane as well, as the death sentence lands onto Mountain, but still the pressure is being exerted by Cedrin and Mountain in the top lane, looking for the dive in the bottom lane. Preemptive teleport now coming down as well for this 2-man defense. Of course, it's Dan into the bottom lane.
So Dan, last game, couldn't be in the quadrant where Beansu was getting tower dove. So his solution to that was simply running teleport. No matter where he is on the minimap, he will always be ready to prevent the dive. A beautiful adaptation here from Dan, fixing that. Or he could have just predicted the gank and pathed there instead. Now we see Diamond procs from bot going to mid, setting up for a potential gank, because now Jinch is exposed for the first time in the series as pushing early.
Yeah, looking for this gank to happen. Diamond procs. Well, he knows the teleport's down from his opposing jungler, but Beansu taking some damage in the bottom lane. Actually engages on top of Cabochard, and Dan is still in the bottom lane. He's set up a 10. He's ready for blood. He gets the taunt down. The auto attacks are coming in from the Armadillo, and he turns around.
Yeah, obviously no flash on Dan, so after he connects there, you can't flash an axe because you're literally not running flash. Miscommunication there though, and now Diamond Fox can come in and pressure. We saw how Beansu committed for that CC play before Dan was in his power ball. You really want to wait 1 or 2 seconds to get Rammus the initial speed up, so when he does reveal himself in vision, he can close the gap quick enough before Olaf can get this relentless damage on top of you. Cabochard handled that gank 1v2. Now Diamond Procs can just move in, add some pressure and poke out. Obviously dangerous to die this against Wizards Advance that can dodge some damage, but overall, Gambit's in control. Cabochard is pushing. He's forcing these guys back 2v1. Diamond Procs once more.
And Beansu is left by himself. Dan Prox will just flash on top of him for the first blood with that red buff. Dan had already gone back to base. That was too easy.
Yeah, way better communication and team play overall from the top jungler duo out of Gambit as opposed to Mouse. The difference couldn't be any bigger here. That teleport bait could have worked so well and could have completely thrown Gambit off. There's no way they were thinking about Rammus teleport suddenly defending tower. Even if you see the loading screen, guarantee you will just forget it. But then too easy, too sniffed out, and good patience and no overcommitment. No panic from Gambit overall. And again, Cabochard is 37 CS to Beansu's 19, doubling the CS already at this point in the game.
It was calculated, and every single lane is ahead on Gambit right now. Mid lane, bot lane, dual lane, everyone. And Dan will just have to go back to his jungle. We'll be probably trying to get towards those home guards as fast as possible. Had gone for the Stalker's Blade first as well, that slowing smite, and is also waiting for his teleport to come back up.
Yeah, and overall, Gambit's bot lane being able to get into this top lane first really helped that matchup as well. We see a slight CS lead here over on the side of Pinoy. They're not losing those trades. No concussive blows have been procced really to really win that trade, and this is a difference. Over as time progresses and the series goes many games further, Gambit have been equalizing and slowly pulling ahead, even in the 2v2. So there's almost nothing that speaks in favor for Mouse anymore. Mid lane is bang on even in terms of CS, even the pressure's evening out. Once Victor hits level 6 and he can upgrade that laser to just have more damage to the minions, and he gets some ability power, he can start clearing those waves immediately, and Azir's push advantage kind of disappears. That will just be a neutral lane. And because Diamond Prox is already ahead, he doesn't even need his lanes to push anymore to invade Dan, because Dan, level 5 on Rammus, no flash. Gonna be incredibly hard for him to find ganks.
Yeah. And honestly, the biggest way of doing so will be those home guards. From what we've seen before, that's what Dan will tend towards to try and make that Rammus work. But as you mentioned, without flash, you can't flash bump, you can't get over minion lines. Everything will stop you on the way.
Can't get this champion rolling at all.
No, they see him rolling, and they are hating in this game, Crapo. But Diamond Prox heading into the bottom lane has found Maokai.
I mean, this is a familiar sight, honestly. Diamond Prox camping that lane, and he doesn't even have to kill anybody, just adding the pressure just to avoid Cabochard getting 1v2'd. Now Cabochard can initiate a proxy if anybody shows up. They're no longer fighting under tower range to get those extra damage, and yeah, Cabochard barely takes any damage here from these creeps, and this is such a bad position to be in if you're Mousesports. As long as Betsy can peel off in time to match the Azir, then Gambit is fine doing this. Now they add the pressure, they're going to peel back the Azir, we're not going to use this matchup anymore. Let's pick up an early dragon, probably going to hand off blue buff to Betsy afterwards. And in the top lane we see Pino and Ghost Pepper facing. It could be very well possible that they're just going to migrate to the bot lane to add some turret pressure to this entire ordeal and send Cabochard top to widen that gap in CS between him and Beaton.
66 farm on him. He's actually going to walk back into the bottom lane, and the duo lane is going to return to the top lane. Both bot lanes went back. Pretty standard. Sejuan went for the BF sword. Bilgewater Cutlass picked up by Pinoy as well.
Yeah, this is a very, very hard point in the matchup for Stana between Kalista, because unless you farm until BF Pickaxe, that could be the biggest disparity, because BF Pickaxe is still finished before Blade of the Runic King is finished on your opponent. If you're getting equal amounts of gold income, that is the roughest part. BF into Cutlass is still a very rough part, so this could be the opening for Mousesports. They have a lot of sustain on Gambit, but they're very prone to all-wins because there's so much damage out of that Tristana explosion coming in, or they could straight up lose their tower. But so far, Ghost Pepper has been positioning aggressively to really not allow Mousesports as a dual lane to really punish Pinoy.
So Dan is looking to follow up onto this red buff that was taken at that level 1. He managed to avoid the Sentinel as well, which was roaming through the jungle from Pinoy. And now, in comes Diamond Prox looking to secure this. He knows they're there, but he has the Tremor Sense. It's being smited away by Dan. And goes to Pepper. There's a good ultimate from Brom coming in, but Betsy comes in from the middle lane and annihilates his target with his ultimate. Beansu now comes into the fight. It's like, hey guys, where are you? Not here anymore. He manages to pick up a kill onto Gosu before he goes down, but that ends up being a 3-for-1, and the red buff just went back over to Gambit.
Yeah, sadly for Mousesports, the fact that Mountain moved into that jungle actually gave it away. It telegraphed that Gambit was about to be robbed of a red buff. You don't really do that. You don't make the Russians angry. They will punish you for it, even though the star player of their team is not French. Cabochard, they really collapsed on that, and Betsy was first to that fight. Now Betsy's first to Jinch.
Yeah, he will be flashing over the wall. There's the ultimate, the Emperor's Divide, slamming into the wall. The soldiers will be staring at that wall and will be backing away. Dan taking away this tunnel, and that's that.
Yeah, Dan uses another teleport with no impact. This tower is left alone for Cabochard and Betsy to siege on, and that sheer amount of damage from that laser and that Chaos Storm was enough to turn that fight around before Beanso could even land. Honestly, again, a late teleport from Mousesports. If you're gonna go for that play, you have to be ready for the fact that it could easily become a 5v5, and you have to make the move first. Cabochard wasn't even close. He teleported top, and he zoned away Cedrion from that fight, so the 4v4 was convincingly won from Gambit. Testament to that is that the fact that Jinch wasn't even in that fight. Even though he had a slight push on the mid lane, it wasn't enough to really rotate first. And that's indicative of Mousesports lacking communication. You can't make those plays and then let Gambit be the first ones to react, because Gambit, a better team, will just annihilate you in even numbers. And they're pulling ahead right now, 2,500 gold ahead, already 11-minute mark. That is massive. That is a big gold lead.
Yeah, even with this early game advantage, Mao's going to find it harder and harder to get into this game. This time they have scaling versus the other compositions they ran. They have the Azir, they have Tristana. But look how defensive every single lane has to play. This duo lane even, which was winning out before and had that opening to potentially open up a lead in the top lane, is just being zoned away. Gosu Pepper lands that death sentence onto Mountain. The double flay onto Sedgen as well. Have a rend while you're at it. And chunk down to 20%. More like 40. Masters hard. Cabochard following after onto Beansu. Just have those undertows coming down. Diamond Prox now coming into this bottom lane, but Dan is there. He did read this gank at least. Top lane, once again, the death sentence landing onto Mountain. Comes in with the ultimate as well onto Pinoy. He's going all in onto this play. The Fate's Core is used, and the knockback onto Cedrion. Turning around, landing those autos. Has to back off after the auto attack coming in for Cedrion. He gets that first kill, and it should be an easy pickup onto Gosu for the next. He's going to flash into the jungle of Mao's. Pops down the box. He's going to stop the chase route coming in from at least Cedrion. But Mountain is there, and he wants to kill his enemy support. Gosu Pepper, all he can do is donate this to the support.
Yeah, that is the hard part of this matchup. If Concussive Blows gets applied on Pinoy and he's in range to eat that stun, then things get rough because the follow-up damage, especially at this point in the game, just means so much. Let's watch that again here. Mountain eventually gets 1 stack on Pinoy, and then once he gets that, he immediately turns on the fire with the ultimate. Once you have 2 CCs coming in, there's not enough damage to tear through Mountain before Sedion tears you apart. Really good interrupt here by Ghost Pepper, interrupting the jump, denying his damage, getting some return damage. Passive actually fades, but gets reapplied there. And then, yeah, flash auto to get it. Ghost Pepper stalling here, but overall, that is a hard part of this matchup, especially level 6. It is almost impossible to beat from Tristana in that sense because there's just so much damage coming out of it.
Still, it was nice to see that 2v2 outplay coming in from Mouse's bottom lane. Mountain and Sergio in the bot lane, we said, always goes even, always goes neutral. This time, picked up an advantage in the last game, picked up 2 kills right there in that 2v2. Good to see.
But at the same time, that was Pinoy and Ghost Pepper slightly overstepping the boundaries. They could have easily played backwards, play with Lantern in a little more. First, Ghost Pepper gets the threat over him. If Pinoy tries to counter-train instead of stepping backwards and Fates Call, this lane technically should never die. Going for a pick here on Bean, so Hook connects, Lantern comes out, but the distance is too big. Just gonna get that tower. Thresh Kalista, in a sense, is just so safe because you can yo-yo each other out of the lane. Whether you step backwards and Lantern Kalista out, or you Fates Call, throw Thresh backwards and get out. You can even put the Lantern down first. The tether will not break in Fate's Call. Throw Thresh over the wall, and so you pull yourself with your ulti. So there's so much escape potential unless you commit to an all-in fight against this lane. I think Gambit learned their lesson, and they're just gonna play it a little more safe to look to close out this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're ahead in towers, they're ahead in the first dragon, and now fighting over this blue buff. Dan kind of forgot about his existence for the last 5 minutes, has not really been impacting the map too much at all, really. 38 farm on him, just been going through his jungle, waiting for his time. Has the teleport back available, has the Stalkers, gone for that Cinderhawk, and has only now picked up the boots as well.
Yeah, and Bessie yet again already at the tier 2 tower, while his tier 1 tower is still alive. Look at the vision control that Gambit have acquired in this bottom side of the map right now. They're challenging Mousesports as they step in. They're playing with full information right now. Every move that Mousesports make will be predictable and in nearly full vision from Gambit. So barring any major positional mistakes, they should be in control to start sieging these tier 2 towers this early in the game. And that honestly is testament to their fantastic shot calling and just how well they prepared for this match.
I also feel we're in another situation where we're saying, well, look, Mouse need to get these flanks. You definitely need to do it as Ramesses. You can't just go through the front door with him. And that's always going to be a problem for Malice because they never have the vision control. As Jins has been caught out here, takes a lot of damage, is dropping low, but is still alive. Diamond Prox now has been caught out, stunned down by the passive from Mountain. He also stays alive. Everyone drops low, but ultimately no one is dead yet. But Cavashot has joined the party. He will make sure people will be going down this time. 2-0 so far for Gambit. How much more can they get? Well, a double kill in for the bro Zerka. 3-0.
And at what point does Bravado turn into overconfidence? Gambit Gaming, they start that fight 2v4. That was only Diamond Prox and Betsy trying to catch out Ginge on the rotation, put him to 1%. Cabochard took the leisurely route. He finished cleaning out that wave, looked around, said, okay, you guys are fighting 2v4. I'll eventually walk in and clean up this fight. But that was literally Betsy and Diamond Prox controlling 4 members, cancelling that dragon on their own, while Pinoy was not even in that fight. Eventually, Ghost Pepper joined, tried to steal a kill even to take it away from Diamond Prox's hard-earned work, but overall, Gambit, they're just toying with their opponents at this point.
Yeah, Mouse needs to shake it off. I'm not sure if they can do so though. Capashot, he's found Bean Suit, charges into him, gets him with the Arcane Smash, but the undertows, they're going to hit you, and they're always going to connect. Once again, just clearing up the minion wave has been revealed by the 2 wards going down from Gambit. And Mountain and Dan, there's a big commitment into the top lane.
And again, Gambit with perfect vision. They have deep vision in the red side, or in the red side of Mousesports. They spot them coming in and listen. If they don't see them, they know that they're exactly in that one path they could possibly take. Cabochard doesn't greed, doesn't overcommit, just pokes him out, keep up the pressure, and then once all lanes start pushing in, then when he has all that information, he can go for the all-in on Beatzer.
Now, Ragnarok has been used, doesn't connect the last undertow, but still does not want to be diving that turret without having sight on Dan. He was turning the corner on that one, so doesn't go all the way in for that kill. Cabochard still so far ahead of this lane, though, of Beansu. We're in another situation where Beansu cannot deal with Cabochard.
Yeah, we've yet to see Mousesports make use of one or both teleports, really, to set up an advantageous play. So far, it's been Gambit in the driver's seat, reacting to the plays as well. The few times that Mousesports is proactive, Gambit just shows that they're better reactive. In all the other cases, Gambit's proactivity is netting them many gains in the form of potential towers. 4 towers to 0. Complete map control, complete map domination from Gambit coming out of here. They're right now 8,000 gold in the lead in this final game in this best of 5 for an LCS spot. And Gambit showing that not only do they want to get back into the LCS, they want to style their opponents and they want to prove that they did deserve to be at least in playoffs. They argued top 4, that is debatable, but the way they're playing right now can be argued for. Still rate Rocket above them, but obviously those are all hypotheticals.
Well, they're making a point in this game, that's for sure. Just saw every single member have a pink ward a couple seconds ago. 2 of them have gone down. All of that gold has been converted into even more vision to just snowball this game even harder. 17 minutes, and we're almost looking at the horizon of a 10,000 gold lead. The middle inhibitor tower is being sieged in. Gosu Pepper just looking for hooks for days. Mountain looking for disengage though. The Glacial Fish are coming down. Diamond Prox is on the front lines. No one could chunk through him though, and Cabashot picks up the first kill onto Cedrian, or rather onto Mountain, and Dan Prox will pay for that with his life. So it turns out to be a 1-for-1, maybe biting off a little more than Gambit can chew right now.
But overall, 1-for-1 trading. Mousesports is happy with that because, well, they actually just didn't get ace in that fight. But overall, Gambit is okay with that because they open up half of the HP of the mid lane tower. Once that falls, they can easily move in and sweep the remainders. They can also take it slow, wait for Baron to spawn, wait for the 3rd dragon. We're only 18 minutes in and Gambit is already sitting on 2 dragons with the next one spawning roughly 3 minutes from now, I believe. So overall, comfortable position. Just keep dropping the wards. Again, the biggest change for me for Gambit this series is that their vision control finally has a purpose and it's been playing around. Diamond Prox got the critique that he was actually just over-warding or not warding efficiently, or Gambit as a whole, we're not using his wards to the benefit. We've seen more synergy between different pairings of Gambit Gaming. We've seen Cabashard and Diamond Prox be sure that they're still a good duo. Well, that's why Cabashard got so far ahead. But we've also seen Diamond Prox group up at times with Gosu Pepper and really get that support jungle duo that is so mandatory to have overall in the current League of Legends landscape, and it has been improved. So props to Shans for really doing that, and it came out in interviews as well. Gambit, a couple of members said we weren't a team, but now we're being taught how to play as a team, even if we didn't, you know, get along personally earlier in the stages. We're learning how to play as a team, and it's very satisfying.
Yeah, very impressed by what Shans has done with the team and what he's done so far. Hanoi was just camping in that bottom bush there as well. Wasn't able to get anything just yet, but just needs to wait it out, honestly. Gambit just need to play this slow now. They don't need to make any big risks because every lane is so far ahead. Cabashard pushing in this top lane. He can win 1v1. He can probably win 1 versus 2 as well. Diamond Prox coming in just to make sure the odds are always in his favor. Mountain and Cedrian in this bottom lane. The rest of the team behind him as well should be able to defend this turret for at least another wave. Not that they recall. Binsu has to flash away at full HP away from that top turret.
Yeah, Dan rolling in, eats a laser, turns around and says, okay, I can't do anything here. Meanwhile, Binsu getting 1v2. It is the story of the game. It plays out in the early game, in the mid game, and now it's playing out, well, I was going to say late game, but we're only 20 minutes in this series with Gambit hitting tier 2 tower in the
Here we go!
Oh. Gets hooked.
And that was the play that had to make something happen. Cedrian drops low, Mountain as well. The bot lane is down. Dan also trying to disengage Jitz. He gets pulled back into Gambit. They take him down. That's a triple kill for Diamond Prox in the jungle. Dan isn't getting away either. He goes down for the 4th kill of the fight, if you can even call it that. And only Binsu is allowed to defend this turret.
An absolute slaughter for Gambit and Gosu Pepper. Reminding people why he was sometimes called the Thresh Prince. Obviously easier if you're this far ahead, but yeah, he's handling a lot of clutch hooks. Sped up Rammus. He did his math, you know, if Rammus leaves his base at this amount of speed heading to the bot lane, at what point do I cast my hook?
Velocity?
At what velocity do I need to throw out my chain? And it does indeed connect that hook, and overall, Gambit did their homework, Edward did his homework, Diamond Prox needs to get out of there, but it looks like it might be the sacrificial Rek'Sai.
Yeah, we'll be going down here. Well, he got a triple worth. Binsu now coming in, might be able to connect another concussive blows onto Betsy. Should be able to get the stun off, or not quite. He's just out of range and just too fast for them. And that's a 1 for 0. They do get something on the retreat, however.
Look at the smiles on the Gambit Gaming player cams. Like, haha, you died, you're behind. If you can be that relaxed in a setting where you're playing for your rebirth into the LCS, that means you have a comfortable lead in the series. And Gambit do indeed have that. They're 12,000, 13,000 gold up right now. It's at the point of the game where you're trying to sell your teammates. You throw the lantern and then you casually, accidentally, of course, step aside. Whoops, that lantern snapped back. Yeah, I didn't. Or somebody, oh, I didn't see the lantern. You know, I accidentally clicked it, leaving Diamond Prox behind.
Well, Gambit definitely ahead in this game for sure, Crepo, and this series. 2-0 over MOUZ. They just need to close this one out, and they will secure their spot in the LCS once again. And MOUZ don't seem to have too much left in their arsenal.
Yeah, and they won that fight even without Cabochard. He's casually taking the Dragon, while the rest of the remainder of the Gambit lineup is moving over to Baron. Looking to hop over the wall. Walk there. I think he failed it. I think one of his teammates pinged him out as well. Ha, you failed getting over the wall. So, yeah, no idea why. Otherwise, he would have walked there. They're starting the Baron now. They have good vision control. Again, look at this double pink ward setup, 2 wards in front. It is textbook the way to do it, but at least Gambit are taking the necessary precautions, forcing mousesports to be so afraid to face check that this Baron is gone. They took Dragon, they took Baron. They're looking to take a lot more inhibitors, and they're looking to take game 3 in this best of 5.
Now, one play, like everything that Rammus was building towards was getting that engage with the home guard, with the teleport, and it just didn't work out because Gosu shut him down. And now Dan is forced to wait for that teleport once again. The entire team is just waiting for that cooldown to make anything happen, but because it took so long to get to that point, they're already so far behind. Even if he does get an engage down, I'm not sure how much is going to help, and there's always that front line to stay in front of him as well.
Yeah, and this is just... yeah, borderline disgusting at this point. You have 50% of the gold that mousesports have accrued is the lead to Gambit, so they have 1.5 times the gold. Look at Shallons, he's taking notes. Game 3, you can probably write down victory. He's actually acting, by the way. He's not writing down anything right now. He's like, notes, what can we improve? Well, nothing for this game. Well, minor improvements obviously possible, but overall I think he could be a happy coach.
I'm in, I'm out.
Yeah. Dan is watching Cabochard take the inhibitor. That is what Mouseport has been reduced to. Overall, they've shown progression though in Challenger Series. Let's not downplay it too much. They did better than was expected. So if you would have asked every Challenger critic and analyst overall, was Mouseport going to get here? People didn't even count on them getting here, so they played above their level and they did fantastic in some sort of strategies, but they are clearly not yet ready for the LCS and found themselves outmatched. Kudos to them for trying. And then going in, sacrificial Rammus, it didn't work out. I like that he went back for some sort of comfort pick, because you really need desperate times.
Desperate measures.
Call for desperate Rammuses overall. It just didn't quite work out. That first initial teleport didn't hit the mark, and ever since it started snowballing downhill.
Yeah, and we did see him coming in. He had very good pathing, managed to get around all of those minions, but once he arrived, it was just such an easy play. Like, you can see the Rammus coming in from a mile away. Now the teleport's up, but the Rammus, unfortunately, is not. The top turret is being sieged in by Gambit. They have the Baron buff. Those minions aren't going to die. Bean2 just hovering around the area. It's only a matter of time before a hook lands, just like that, onto Mountain. He'll be going down. Cedric is trying to retreat away from his base, and everyone just wants this kill. Screw finishing the game. I want to pad my stats. Here comes the teleport in from Dan, and he immediately just decides better of it. Just nothing in this composition is working out. They never hit their power points, and Jinx never got rolling.
Yeah, Cabochard basing here for the home guard. Teleports coming out. Gambit, tribute to Moscow 5. See hero, kill hero. See tower, kill tower. And they're looking to finally close out this game and save their spot in the European LCS.
Yeah, Gambit are shutting MOUZ out of this game. That's the first kill of this one to close it out. Gambit come in and reclaim their LCS spot in the 2016 Spring Split.
Clean-cut victory overall. 3-0, clean sweep here. Playing around one of the stronger players, Cabochard, while not losing anything on the other side of the map. The game 1 was the closest of all these games, honestly, because there we actually had a potential opening in the sense that Cedric and Mountain were pulling ahead of Pinoy and Pepper in terms of CS, in terms of poke, but then eventually Gambit masked that weakness, used it to their advantage by sending in the jungler Diamond Fox first. Why? Because Betsy was pushing. Gambit goes in with their jungler. He places a ward. Suddenly, Cabochard is teleporting, and we see a team play, a map-wide team play coming out of Gambit Gaming roster. And that indicated already that they were on the same page together and overall had a strategic edge over Mousesports, and it manifested itself even more in Game 3 and absolutely in Game 3.
And that just makes me so excited for Gambit and what they can achieve potentially in 2016, as well as MOUZ. So many improvements from that team. They were 2-8 in the Spring Split and came in as the 4th seed and went all the way to the finals in Challenger. MOUZ can be proud of what they've achieved this season. And moving forward, they can achieve so much more. It's great to see what they've done with the team. But ultimately, not right now is their time to make the LCS, and Gambit have shown why they were a superior team.
Yeah, as the LCS gets more competitive over time, there is no shame in trying and failing. Obviously, Mousesports played beyond or above their mains, beyond their mains, honestly, getting in this position. They showed some sort of brilliance in the sense that they had the right approach. Trying to master one strategy to at least get into this position. That's what they did. They played around towers a lot and mostly dragons later on. But then once you actually prepare for this match and you have these couple of weeks, you really need to get more strategic depth because otherwise it's too easy to play around. And they didn't find an answer, and that's what worries them for me, for Cabochard. Because we know Gambit's going to play around Cabochard. It is more than pick and bans, and mostly it is the way Gambit was pathing their jungle around the map, freeing up diamond blocks around the level 4, 5, 6 level mark to be always in the top side of the map, or bot side if that's where Cabochard was. And Binsu was playing 2v1. Malphite, Maokai just doesn't quite work 2v1. He got pressured out, eventually snowballed. Same story every series.
Yeah, I'm still a little sad we didn't see Binsu on a carry. I mean, towards the end of the season, he was playing tanks all the time. Then he went onto the carries and did super well. The Hecarim's we saw, the Fizz even. But against Cabochard, they just ultimately went for those tank picks. Either way, something that we could see for the future. We are going to toss to Quickshot on stage to hear from a few victorious members of Gambit Gaming.
Thank you very much, Pulsarino and Kipo. We're joined here by Pinoy and Cabochard after what was an incredibly convincing 3-0. First of all, congratulations for re-qualifying for the LCS. We'll see you in 2016. Pinoy, let's start talking about the series, talking about the matchup. What went well for Gambit, and why did it look so easy?
We've been practicing a lot playing the strategic part and playing as a team, and I feel like we did that pretty well. The first game was like a bit messy in a bit, but after the first game, we got like a lot of confidence going into the rest of the series, and it was like also cleaner playing the game. So we played a lot as a team, and that was really great.
Yeah, it really was great to see, and it actually did show a lot of the coordination around objectives. Cabochard, what was it like preparing for the promotion tournament? Of course, with Pinoy coming in to replace Forgiven and some of the patch changing, not playing for several weeks. What was the training and the boot camp like?
Yeah, so we actually started playing 3 weeks ago, I think, approximately. We just took a break after the LCS season. And yeah, the problem was that the patch on live was different than the one we were screaming and the one we would play today. But overall, we just played during those 3 weeks with Chris, and it went really well. So we are confident going to this series.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing you guys next year. Let's step back from the series, which was very one-sided. And Pinoy, you've come from playing with Winter Fox. It was a difficult summer split. What's it like, playing Challenger there, coming here to play against a Challenger team with a former LCS team? I mean, it's been a topsy-turvy year for Pinoy.
Yeah, it was like it was not the most great experience in NA, competitive-wise, because you went like 1-9, and it also hurts a bit like individual play, and I also think like I gotten worse over there. So it was like really great coming back to like scrimming with an LCS team and scrimming like Origin and Fnatic and like feeling better about myself and individual. So it was like really cool, but I feel like overall the EU scene like overall is challenger scene wise and low bottom tier LCS like stronger than NA by a far margin actually.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. EU greater than NA, confirmed by Pinoy. I want to talk about scrimming with the LCS teams and LCS players. Cabochard, final question before we move on to wrap up the day. What's your opinion on the current state of live as a top laner who plays carries, who likes to carry? It must be exciting having Fiora in there, seeing the Riven with the support of Skarner from players like Diamond. What's your take on the current state and what we can expect in the next couple of weeks and towards Worlds?
Yeah, very much like the patch currently. Like even the one before were good because you could play like some Yasuo, and now we see that gameplay came in about 2 patches ago, I think, for our last one, and now we see a lot of Darius, Garen, and just all the Juggernaut that got buffed. And it's really, really pleasant because they're actually OP, so if you see that enemy is not going to ban it, then you know that you can have an edge and then snowball it because you can easily snowball from top lane in current meta.
Yes, definitely the case. I also remember your top lane Yasuo. I demanded a replay of those. Anyways, congratulations again on the clean sweep 3-0. We will see you guys back in 2016. To wrap up the EU LCS Spring Promotion Tournament, we're going to head back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Of course, the top laner is going to say that it's a fantastic
Yeah, he
patch.
loves it.
Woo!
Why not? So many
Anyway,
picks.
got really excited there. Anyway, I want to touch on something that Pinoy said to maybe jump off here and wrap up the series about the challenger scene. He feels that the level maybe is a little bit higher over here. In EU, he also said by a far margin. It's funny because Forgiven always said by far. Anyway, that's very interesting, maybe for the side of the losing MOUs in this one, but you've been casting them for a long time. Of course, they'll be going back into that challenger bracket. How do you think it's going to be for them after what you've seen from them in the playoffs?
I mean, there's a long time now between now and when Challenger is going to start. I mean, we look all the way into the spring split. there's a long break, a lot of time to study, the game will change a lot. The biggest thing about the comparison between Challenger and LCS is no team in Challenger this year, outside of perhaps Origin, has had a rounded game in any respect. You'd have teams that were better at team fighting, teams that were better at objective control, but nobody had all of the pieces that it takes to be an LCS team. We've seen a lot of growth, a lot of improvement, but if that step can be made in the off-season, we may see a stronger Challenger scene. And, you know, it's starting to get there. Challenger coaches are starting to become a lot more of a factor. But I'm happy to see that the growth that has been throughout the 2015 season.
Yeah, now 2 new teams coming into the LCS. I mean, last promotion tournament, we had 2 LCS teams. It's very one-sided, win the games, Giants and Rocket back then. Requalify, we get at least Gamers 2 coming in. Also, we tend to see teams who drop down to Challenger scene, not stay together, like split up a little bit. So we have no clue what to expect from the former LCS teams. And that should mean that as long as Mouse Sports stick together and keep improving in the off-season, they should come into the Challenger scene looking fairly strong and as one of the top teams, at least in the start. We obviously don't know exactly which teams will be joining them, but for now it looks fine. We've also 2 teams leaving, Dignitas and Gamers 2.
Yep, then taking a look at Gambit, of course, super convincing series and requalifying here. Of course, you could say, well, it's only natural that they turn up in a game like this. But, you know, we've been talking a long time about Gambit. They seem to be doing better in scrims is what we're hearing here and there as well. With Sean's, how does this project look to you now with the players that they have on Gambit going into the next split?
It's a very solid position to be in. I mean, even in a lot of Gambit's losses, they looked together as a team. You can hear them together as a team out there by the sounds of it, if that picked it up. You know, they didn't look like a team that didn't have a head in a lot of the games. There were some games where, you know, you'd think, why are they making these engages in the regular split that would just be silly little things that would cost them a game. But I don't think it was a doubt in anyone's mind that Gambit were going to come through this series today.
No, heavy favorites. A lot of teams even said that Gambit were one of the strongest teams we had in Europe leading into playoffs, or for them now leading into the promotion tournament. But I think with a coach like Sean, it really seems like he has control of what is he wants to do with the team. I like his approach when it comes to what they have to adapt to, what they need to change, and really seems like the team is respecting him quite a lot. He can even have all his notes on one piece of paper for the promotion tournament. That's
we have
impressive.
The same amount of
I mean,
notes.
that's insane, and he sits there writing it down when they've already qualified. But I think with a coach like him and with the talent they have on the roster, as long as they keep working out some of these small mistakes that we've seen before from them, they should keep getting better, and they will be one of the better teams in Europe coming in to spring.
Yeah, one of the big talents that has definitely emerged this season and is also our MVP for this series, helping Gambit reclaim their spot in the LCS. Of course, their top laner, Cabo Shard, immensely strong performance from him once again. A KDA of 11.3 on 3 champions in 3 games. It was a close one once again for the MVP.
It was. Diamond as well has to be mentioned here because he is the guy always setting up Cabo Shard to be the carry, but it's a strategy we've seen time and time again for Gambit. Cabo Shard can play these carries, he can snowball the game out of control, and the synergy with Diamond is just spot on.
And we said it before the series, this is a top laner and jungler combination that runs Rupshot over LCS top and jungles. Like, this is a guy that has given the best top laners in our region a run for their money. And, you know, it's no surprise that he kind of just didn't really seem phased by anything in today's series.
I mean, you get such a good start in every game. You're like 30 CS up, you press tab, you're like, oh, okay, I got this one, and you just keep going from there. We got to see the rest of Gambit. Try and follow the Cabo Shard trend here and Diamond trend, and I think Betsy really had a poor performance. A solid performance.
Is this?
I thought it was one of his best performances in quite a while.
He had a very good performance in the mid lane as well.
I mean, saying that, we saw how the games played out, so I guess it would have been difficult not to have such a good performance.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. That would have been impressive.
Anyway, Gambit, they're back in there in the LCS, and with the dust settled, we're going to take a look at the 10 teams that will compete in the 2016 European LCS Spring Split. Of course, Gamers 2 is in, SK Gaming is out for the first time, and Team Dignitas is in also with Copenhagen Wolves, of course, out there. I mean, I like it. There's a couple of new changes in there. Of course, we're going to miss the teams that we have lost, but it'll be a very interesting split once again.
6 new Danish players coming into the LCS. That is always a bonus. And then, I mean, we saw how close it was down the bottom of the standings. Giants and Elements just making sure they didn't drop down to promotion tournament. I'm sure Gambit wants revenge in the spring split, and we should have a very, very close split again next year.
And Fnatic winning in the end.
Well,
that's how the rules are,
we'll see.
That's what
I mean, If anybody was worried that EU mid laners were kind of a dying breed, here's Perks and Senkuks. Here's two more to add to the list. Very young players, very hungry players. I'm expecting to see a lot from them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there for our season or our split next up in the EU LCS. But the fight for Worlds is still going on. Worlds here just, well, a couple of weeks away even. The battle is continuing around the globe, and we now know the final 2 seeds coming out of China's LPL. Of course, if everything wrapped up today, Edward Gaming are in there, Invictus Gaming, and EDG also coming through, as well as KT qualifying today as well. And the international wildcard over in Chile is always also going on. Pain is up 2-0 currently, so they're definitely going there.
The last team we need to qualify for Worlds, and then we all set.
KT roster booked their spot as well after winning today. Jin nearly did it. They nearly ran the gauntlet. They nearly pulled a Cloud9.
I was getting pretty hyped for Gangplank Mom whenever he played Gangplank in the mid lane.
Gangplank Mom.
Gangplank Mom. Sadly, it didn't work out for Jin.
Glad plane became sad plane.
Sad plane,
said,
indeed. Yeah. Well, as the last teams lock in their tickets to World 2015, mark your calendars for September 12th, because at 10 p.m. Central European Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, is our live group draw show, where we'll get our first look at the groups we'll see battle it out in Paris later this year. That's a very big thing to say. It's in a couple of weeks already. Worlds is very, very close. What's very close, Fisho?
It's World.
All right, cool. Well, while the promotion picture is settled here in Berlin, there's still 2 LCS spots up for grabs in North America. Tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central European Time, noon Pacific, as Enemy Esports defend their pro status against Team Coast, and Team 8 look to hold off Imagine. What do you guys think?
I want to see what Saint Vicious and Team Coast can do. Obviously, he's coaching the team. He's not playing for them, even though he probably could once again return to the scene. I think they showed some good plays against the Renegades. It just wasn't enough to win, obviously, and get auto-promoted. So I want to see what they can do.
Yep, we'll see what goes on there. For now, though, that is it for us here from the studio. Until Worlds 2015, it's time for us to sign off for everyone here at the European LCS. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the international stage.
For a spot in the LCS next year.
Kill this guy, kill
nice.
him.
No. No, he's in. Strike. Nice. Endgame. Nice. Endgame. Nice. Nice, boys. Gamers 2 have taken the first game in the series off of SK.
Get wrong. Nice. Keep going.
Nice.
Get him on.
Get him. And they demolish SK Gaming. Welcome to the League of Legends Championship Series. It's the truth. I had the time of my life, and I never felt this way before.
Last time we didn't take our shoes off, that's why we lost, right?
Yeah.
Damn, now we're gonna carry.
Last time we didn't what?
We didn't put our shoes away.
That was holding us back.
That was it.
If only we knew, man.
Yeah, I like the smell of feet while I'm playing. I love it. Don't you?
Go.
Careful, I'm not fight ulti here.
No, he has no.
I got gangplank. I'm on Simmer. Yeah, kill him. Nice, good job, guys. Good shit.
But Dan, picking up this round, can he make it work? The curveball, you can see Eddie's face, doesn't know what to make of it. The goes to Pepper, there's a good ultimate from Brom coming in, but Betsy comes in from the middle lane and annihilates his target with his ultimate. Here we go! And that was the play that had to make something happen. Cedric drops low, Mountain as well. The bot lane is down. Dan also trying to disengage Jit. He gets pulled back into Gambit. Gambit come in and reclaim the LCS spot in the 2016 Spring Split.